Okay, guys, so I have a quick word for you. I'm going to try to make it quick. I have quite a bit of information to share, and if I need to, whatever, I'm just going to get this out, okay? So, my name is Naja. If you are new here, I want to say welcome. Please excuse, I have some food cooking on the back stove, so I don't just have mess in the background, but just want to address that. Now, what I'm going to share with you today is going to be a dream and then a revelation that God gave me several days after the dream. Now, when I look back on my notes, let me see, I had this dream at least probably a week ago. At least a week ago. Let me see. I'm not sure what day it was. I think it was over a week ago. October the 15th. So I had the dream on October the 15th. And then on October the 26th is when God gave me this revelation. Now, there is like two part. Of course, we know we prophesy in part. So it was two part. All right. So in this dream, I'm going to just read it from my notes. I don't remember what happened before this particular part, but I remember seeing these transparent, long-looking worms, particularly one, almost shoestring kind of, width, and it was very long, extremely long, and they were transparent, like you could see through them. I didn't think that it was alive until I saw them moving. And it was like moving over a wall, like half of it was coming down and half of it was up on something. And so I started stepping on it, like the part that was on the ground. I started stepping on it and it started to squirm. And when it started to squirm is when I recognized that it was alive. And so as I'm stomping on it, it started to change color. I saw red and I saw blue. And then immediately after that, the scene changed and I was pulling up to a parking lot. So imagine you're pulling up to a parking lot or you pulling up and there's a parking lot to the left of me. And I look over to the left in that parking lot. And the parking lot is full of cars. I don't know at first what the place is or, what's happening there. But I pull up and stop and look almost as if to see whether or not I was now going to be able to be granted access. Almost like I immediately knew that I was not allowed to come in before and I'm coming back to see if I can get in. So I then pull around to where I can actually come in and I pull into the entrance. And as I pull into the entrance, a guy immediately waves me in to his direction, like almost as if he recognizes who I was and tells me to come follow him to the front and he's going to show me where to park. And he pulls me directly to the front to where I'm now parked. Like if this is the side of the building, I'm literally parked parallel to the side of the building, right in the front of the building. Keep in mind, the parking lot was packed. And so as I park and as I get out, I then noticed that they covered my car. If you are familiar with when you see new cars and there's a reveal, so I had to go and research what are the covers called so that I could really get the gist of what that meant. So I had to grab something out of my car and that's when I noticed that the car had been covered as if it was on display. And what it's called is a custom reveal car cover. A custom reveal car cover. So they cover these vehicles with this custom reveal car cover when it's something that is new, that's exciting, and they want to reveal it to the world. Okay, so they cover it so they can have this full effect of pulling that cover off. Okay. Now, I then end up inside of a building and I'm standing in the hallway and I'm standing with my daughter in the hallway and there is a waiting room that is across from us. And so I end up telling her, let's go across the hall and have a seat, because it was a waiting room with a TV and other chairs that were in there. So once we go over there, I find a chair for her to sit in. And then I'm looking around the room and I see all these different chairs. None of them looked comfortable. None of them. One of them was kind of like a high chair made out of wood, and it didn't look comfortable. Another one was this little small chair and it didn't look comfortable. Kind of reminds you of like the, Goldilocks and the Three Bears is what somebody told me, which I thought was hilarious. But none of them were comfortable. And so I finally find one and I sit next to my daughter. I notice immediately after I sit down that I had a blanket and my legs were propped up. I could see from here down. The blanket, my legs are propped up, and I'm in a comfortable position now. It was also like I was waiting on my father. I felt like in my spirit, like I was waiting on my father. And I noticed that my father was off to the right of me, and he was tending to some other people, talking to some other people. And I just waited. And he hadn't acknowledged me yet at the moment, but I woke up. So what I received from this interpretation or from this dream is that, number one, did I even write it down? I don't even think I wrote it down. But basically, in a nutshell, what God revealed to me was the vehicle represents a ministry, okay? Especially my vehicle, it was a big vehicle. I have a big SUV. And so the bigger the vehicle, the bigger the ministry. And so the Lord was revealing, and this is not just for me, okay? It is also for those who is watching, if it applies. And if you see this little stick, this is my little fall decorations sitting here, and it's making its debut into the picture, into the video. But the vehicle represents either an individual person or a ministry, okay? And so I know in my case, this represented my ministry, and that at the moment it is being covered for a big reveal. God is going to reveal you in your new, in the new beginning, okay? In a new fashion, in a new form. And while that is happening, he has you in a place of rest, okay? Many of you have been put into a place of rest. And so this is why this is very important that we understand what that means. Because while we are in rest, many don't understand. Even I had to be reminded what rest meant. And if we're being put into a place of rest, we need to operate as if we're in rest. And let God, who is off to the side, because your Father represents either Jesus Christ or God, okay, is off to the side handling your business, creating all of the avenues that are needed to be created for this big reveal of who you are meant to be in this next season, okay? Now that has been said, I feel that God has said this to many of you. I feel that God has shared with many of you that you are supposed to be in a place of rest. But if any of you are full-time ministry, or if any of you are maybe not in full-time ministry, but are in a position where it is requiring you to think about what things look like around you, and you're more focused on what things look like around you rather than focusing on being in a restful position with God, then this message is for you. So on October 26th, I'm going to define for you what God's rest is supposed to look like, okay? So when God tells you that he is putting you in a position of rest, that means that you can find peace and relief from your burdens by turning to him. You're not supposed to be stressed out about how you're going to pay your bills. You're not supposed to be stressed out about how this or that is going to happen, okay? Listen to this message. So what I have found myself doing repeatedly over this time period, when I know that God has already told me that I'm supposed to be in rest, I find myself trying to figure out how to make things happen. I know that God moved me into this place. And as a full-time content creator and coach, it is not always easy. Actually, you're always looking for ways to make ends meet. And I find myself looking to create this avenue, create that avenue. And it becomes less of me trusting God doing it and more of me trying to find my own methods of what I see other people doing in order to bring income to support this, what God is blessed me with. And so when you do that, it becomes more about, you might as well go out and get a job. When I know that God told me that I'm not supposed to be working for anyone, because I've tried to get a job multiple times and I get rebuked every time. Every single time I get rebuked. So it's no different from me trying to create this way of making money, trying to create this way of making money. I literally, with TikTok, I have about 34,000 followers on TikTok. I tried to go in and create some type of method that they have to where you can get income from the music that you play on your video, or trying to post so people can purchase things from TikTok shop. And I got a big fat no. Okay, like literally there was an error message that came up on the phone, and I was like, why am I being blocked from this? Why is this not working? Like and so it became an immediate knowing that God was saying no. God was saying no. What are you doing? So the fact that you've been told to rest and you're doing the opposite is why this message has come forth. Many have been given the message to rest. God is trying to alleviate the world's system of, let me find the next best way to make income or to feed my family. You are in the stage of building your faith and trusting God. So let it be built and stop pushing for more ways to make income. So this is the thing. Let's just say something happens in the world's system, which we know there are going to be some changes. There are going to be some things that are going to take place, right? And so in the midst of that, we may not live in a world where it's even accessible or won't even matter to be able to promote our businesses, right? We have to get out of the mindset of the world's system of promoting our businesses, trying to make money, and to try and convince people through marketing our businesses to bring us sales. What we're going to have to do is to trust God to provide. This is what He is trying to get us in. So while you are resting, while He has you into a place of rest, you are supposed to be turning to Him for relief. You are supposed to be believing that He is going to create or bring you what is needed. As long as you've been obedient in the avenues that He's told you to create. So for example, for me, the avenues would be, I have a website. I have a way for people to book me if they want to do coaching. That is an avenue. Now, as far as the people coming, I need to depend on the Lord to bring those people to me. Not for me to go out and convince the people. Now, I do believe that, we have to promote ourselves by saying, hey, I offer Christian coaching. But to panic in creating all these different ways of doing things to kind of persuade people because you know that your rent is due is not trusting the Lord, right? And so He gave me an example. I don't know if many of you have heard or read about Tamar in the Bible. And Tamar was considered to be a deceitful widow. God is able to bring about His purposes and execute His plans even when we fail. Even when we fail. Tamar had a worthy goal, that is to continue the line of Judah, but she did not trust God to fulfill His promises, and decided to move ahead with her own plans. Even if our motivation is pure and our goal is worthy, we do not please God by disobedience. We don't. And so if God has told you to rest, but you're not resting, I wrote it down. Resting is you can find peace and relief from your burdens. If your burdens is trying to figure out how you're going to pay your bills, how are you resting? If you're not allowing Him to take care of those burdens, you're not resting. You're so busy moving around trying to make it happen. That was me, okay? Now, because I have a women's study Bible, it will say women, but this is for not just women. A woman's influence, like all God-given resources, should be exercised with responsible stewardship. God was telling me that not everything that's out there that's giving you the opportunity to make income is something that I want to have attached to my ministry, because it's not my ministry, it's His ministry. Not everything that you see other people doing do I want you attaching to this ministry. It's not for you. This isn't an avenue just because you have followers. This is not an avenue for you to make money. This is an avenue for you to simply focus on speaking the word that I've told you to speak. Right? And so even this is for men as well, not just women. We have been given a certain level of responsibility, and we are supposed to operate in proper ways, because we need to take our influence and steward it properly. I can't be connected, and this is what I wrote for me, I can't be connected to some people or platforms because the person is popular, nor attach myself to ways of making income that God did not confirm. Because there were situations where, I saw different platforms that I thought would be a great opportunity for me to connect and collaborate with in order to teach my testimony, give certain things that I've experienced. But God was like, I'm the one that's going to set up the opportunities for you where you are needed to be speaking and giving your story. There are certain platforms, they might look nice, they might look like they're popular, and Lord knows I don't want to be popular. I don't want to be a part of the in crowd. I don't. Because God will quickly come and break up that in crowd, because it will become less about Him, right? So we have to be careful with who we attach ourselves to. And so some platforms that I was wanting to come and tell my testimony on, specifically, it's a guy, but guy was like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that person at all, but God was just like, I'm going to do the setting up. I'm going to be the one that's going to put you where you need to be, okay? You don't need to try and influence, right? And then I remember seeing a video on TikTok, and this young lady said, is God enough? No, she said, God is not enough for you. She said the Israelites repeatedly rejected God and didn't trust Him. Does His provision and word of promises suffice? Is it enough? So if God says, I put you here and you need to have faith and know that I am God and I'm going to take care of you while you're there, is His promises, is His word of His promises enough? Is it going to suffice for you? For many, we say we trust God until it's that last moment where hope seems lost. And instead of trusting, we keep trying to create a road for ourselves that doesn't include trusting the Lord. And we need to be very careful with that. So the Lord also reminded me of the story about Solomon, and how Solomon is reminded that faithfulness yields prosperity and success. In order for you to receive prosperity and success, it is going to be through your faithfulness, and your faithfulness to be in trusting God in what he said he's going to do. Okay? The Lord be with you. The Lord be with you, and the fourfold encouragement. Be strong and of good courage, and do not fear nor be dismayed. This is followed by arise and begin working, and arise and build. This is building the kingdom of God and not your pockets. God is saying arise and build the kingdom. He didn't say arise and figure out how to build your pockets. My God. The framing phrase and the encouragements are common for God-given tasks. And that's in 1 Chronicles 22, verse 11 through 16 that I'm referencing. Now, the avenues, as I mentioned, are created already, at least for me. So maybe you need to make sure that the avenues that God is desiring for you to create, that they are created so that there are ways for that income to get to you. Also, God wants to separate your mind from thinking you need to do advertising and marketing like the world. I said that already. Because rent is due. Okay? You get into this panic mode and feel like you're not doing something right in reference to your marketing to bring more income to you. When in turn, God could be allowing it to be slow just for the sake of building your faith. Literally. God is more than capable to send the people to you that you're going to need. And some, and I think including myself at some point, was feeling unworthy. Feelings of unworthiness for what God has given or what he is bringing, which opens the door for shame. Right? So if you know or feel as though there are certain things that you haven't forgiven yourself for, and then you look around and you see what God has done, or maybe he hasn't done it yet, but yet you're in the space of knowing that God is going to bring a certain promise your way, and you're feeling unworthy. If you're feeling unworthy, then there is a huge, space there, an open door for you to be living in shame and really not being in a space of forgiving yourself. Shame is closely related to mortified, which is derived from the French word meaning death, right? And this doesn't necessarily mean death physically, but death to your promises. Because you feel unworthy. If you feel that you don't deserve it, right? You can self-sabotage those things by not truly trusting in the Lord and what he said he's going to do. Shame is the experience of profound embarrassment. And for some, the embarrassment hasn't even happened yet. So you are reacting to prevent it rather than trusting God. My God. God's criterion for success is faithfulness with what you have been given to the task he has assigned. So his criterion for success is faithfulness in what you have been given to the task he has assigned. So what he's given you in order to see that this task that he's assigned you, what he's given you, have you been faithful over it? The task that he's given you, have you been faithful with it? Because if you haven't been faithful with it, then the success is not going to come. And so I have to sit back and think to myself like, okay, Lord, have I done everything that you've told me to do in regards to what you provided for me in order for this task to take place? Have I done my part? And maybe this is why certain things may not be successful. So maybe go before the Lord and say, Lord, I know that your criterion for success is faithfulness. Have I been faithful over the things that you've already given me for the tasks you've assigned? Have I done everything you've told me to do? God is looking for you to have sacrificial living. Are you sacrificing your whole life? Are you saying, here is my life, Lord? Take me and I will do whatever it is that you desire. Is that where you are? All power and authority is God's alone, and he uses it always for the ultimate good of his children. Even when we do not see the beginning or ending of God's plan, we have to trust him to be the Alpha and the Omega, beginning and ending of all things. It's all about submission, hon. It's all about submission. I think I need to read that part again. All power and authority, all of it, is God's alone, and he uses it always for the ultimate good of his children. Okay? He uses it for your good. Even when we do not see the beginning or ending of God's plan, we have to trust. Trust him to be the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end of all things. And guys, I'm speaking to myself here, okay? I am speaking to myself. Because when stuff is due and there is no resources in sight, I'm literally sitting here like, Lord, what's happening? Did I miss something? Was there something I was supposed to do that I missed? Please reveal it to me so I can get out of whatever situation I'm in. Because sometimes we don't recognize that our money and situations, they dry up because of our disobedience. And we may not have even realized that God gave us, and he gave us a direct thing to do, and we didn't do it. And there's many times I have experienced where he's told me to do something and I missed maybe even a smidget of something he mentioned to do. So if it's not done exactly the way he mentioned to do it, then it's still disobedience, right? And so then that's when certain things begin to dry up. I have experienced it way too many times. So submission is ultimately the goal. Submission, all right? So that's the end of my message for today. I pray that you guys take it and receive it, okay? Because when I tell you that if we are called to be in rest and there is something that needs to be taken care of that we know was a part of God's promise to us, he's not going to let your promise fall to the ground, especially if you're living righteously, you're doing what God has called you to do, you're seeking his face. You're not actively just trying to be in disobedience, and you're actually going before him like, Lord, what is it that you're wanting me to do? Because I know tonight I'm going to be laying on my face in my prayer closet tonight, okay? And many of you probably need to do the same thing. You need to go before the Lord in your prayer closet or wherever you meet the Lord every day. Lay on your face. Lay on your face. Ask him for provision. Ask him for guidance. Ask him to reveal to you what you should be doing. Okay? So when he says rest, let's rest. Let's give our burdens over to him and stop trying to do it ourselves and figure it out. Right? All right. God bless you guys. Love you. See you in my next video. Bye.